All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome in. Howard Bender, Andrew Cooper here. It's Alarm Fantasy Football, NFL Week 3, Waiver Wire Edition. That's right. You got your fantasy football waiver wire. Start to make some claims this week. We've got you 100% covered. I've got a little video over there at fantasyalarm.com. You can also find it right here on our YouTube page. And Andrew Cooper, ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. He's got a 3-part waiver wire article series talking about must-haves, stashes, streamers to use, everything like that. So go check everything out over at fantasyalarm.com, of course, after this show here. And we appreciate you guys tuning in. Smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you don't already, because Coop and I, we got you 100% covered all year long. We got the waiver wire show here on Tuesdays. We do a full lineup show on Wednesdays, and then another lineup decisions pregame on Thursdays. So, Coop, what's going on, dude? Busy, busy, busy. It's already week 3. I can't believe we're looking at week 3 already.
I know, dude. I'm fired up. Plus, I mean, this week went real well for us, I will say. And as far as the content goes, we're doing our best. Always let us know if there's something you want to see. People were last year saying, okay, I have trouble deciding whether to add certain guys because I don't know if they're a stash. I don't know if they're just going to be good for one game. So what we did is we broke down those articles into 3. The waiver wire article is guys that are good now and long term. The streamers are guys that we only think can get a couple games in short term, like a Juwan Jennings maybe with Debo Samuel out. I don't know. And then there's the stashes, which are guys that you really can't use right now, but long term who could have big upside if something happens. Not to mention, I know there's some people out there that see these after the fact or can't watch at 1 o'clock or 1 to 2. John and Eric Romoff on Thursday, right before kickoff, when everybody's home from work, getting ready for football, hit you again with some more start sits, ad drops, the whole thing. So, but hey, always let us know if there's something you want to see. Today, we're going to focus on waivers. So if you got lineup questions, jump in tomorrow, jump in on Thursday. We'll get to those. Today, we got to hit on waivers. We got to hit on it because the deadline's tonight and people got questions, man. They're already trickling in the chat. So
I love it. I love it. Also, guys, just so you know, I mean, join the Fantasy Alarm family. See that QR code right up top there? Right over here above my shoulder, zap that QR code. Do yourselves a favor. When you sign it, go to fantasyalarm.com/all-pro if you don't want to zap the QR code, because that's how they get you. Do yourself a favor and just go to fantasyalarm.com/all-pro. When you sign up for the monthly or the annual, you get a 7-day free trial. So you get to take it for a spin for nothing after 7 days. And if you don't like it, well, then you can cancel. If you do like it, well, we've probably already helped you pay for your subscription with all the betting, the DFS, and the season-long work that we put in here. So let's get going here, Coop. Let's put a pin into week number 2. Let's finish it off real quick here. A couple of guys who really popped for you, maybe a couple of guys who didn't pop for you. We always like to have the accountability with some wins and losses. So what'd you finish up with this past week?
It's interesting, Howard. I do those player profilers, right? Where I write like 1,500 to 2,000 words on a single player in an article. I did 9 of them this year on guys I really like. This week, there were some guys that definitely hit and also some guys from those articles that didn't. So, might as well start there. I wrote about, so of the 150, 160, 180 guys that people are drafting, I wrote about 9 guys. In those 9 articles, Alvin Kamara is the RB1. Chris Godwin is the wide receiver 1. Kyler Murray is the QB1. So we definitely have some hits out of 9 there. Hunter Henry is a top 5 tight end. So we did well with that aspect of things. And also the top waiver ad that we had in our QB articles, Baker Mayfield, well, he's like QB 2, 3 right now. So feeling pretty good on that front. It's always fun to go through the hits, though. We'll definitely get to the misses. But, I mean, my Kamara, Shaheed, Godwin teams, I might win $1 bazillion over on Best Ball Mania, Howard. Look out now. What about you, man?
Yeah, it's so funny. I tweeted out you had this article or you had this tweet back in August talking about Alvin Kamara, and I think what your comment was it's not just about Alvin Kamara being an RB1, it's about Kamara being the RB1. And I tell you, I was like sitting there yesterday and I was like, of course, laughing my ass off about Jim Bowden and his Cowboys, right? Like laughing my, and I tried to be nice to him on the show. I see a comment in here already. Victor Hudson II asking about how Jim's doing after that. And like, I mean, it was a simple one for me. It really was. I was like, we've talked about Kubiak Dennison. Tell you what, go back and look at what Coop said in August, late August, before you guys were even drafting, why you needed to do it. So huge hit on that one there for sure for you. Very proud of you on that. DK Metcalf balled out for me this past week. That was a great one. 126 yards and a touchdown, 10 targets. This is exactly what I thought would happen with Seattle. So even though it was against your Patriots and you know, your boy Christian Gonzalez had some struggles there.
Against the hottest team in football, Howard. Can you imagine? What a guy.
Dude, you know what, man? The Steelers right now are the hottest team in football. I'm already putting up with Shannon Josh on the Fantasy Alarm.
This is how quickly I pivot. I'm already wearing a Bruin shirt. I'm already like, all right.
Which is really funny because in my betting article for Thursday Night Football, it's Jets Patriots this week. And I literally wrote, how are the Jets going to fare against the hottest team in football?
I still think that's such a funny bit, but yeah, they were so close to winning. I was thinking about that. Well, I was watching with a couple of my buddies this week, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, Howard's going to get it. You know what's funny? We were watching the game, and then we were like, what if we just start like a cult where we just, no matter what, say the Patriots are winning the Super Bowl, no matter what anyone says. And if anyone says otherwise, we just answer the same way every time. We say, that's loser talk.
You can have that cult all to
if anyone says we need to lose to get a left tackle, no, that's loser talk. Patriots are good. Don't worry about the Patriots. You joining the cult?
Am I joining the cult? No. I don't look good in a hood and a white sheet. But thanks, man. I appreciate you asking me that.
Invite stands.
All right. So DK Metcalf hits for me. Shaheed and Kamara hit for you. Anybody else that was like, listen, I told everybody to start Malik Neighbors because he was going up against Benjamin St. Just. Boom. That hit.
Yep.
When everybody was asking about tight ends because Evan Engram was out, there are two tight ends that came to mind. Number one was Mike Gesicki, because again, T. Higgins out, and what we've seen with Gesicki is that he's starting to see a little bit of that work, especially inside the red zone. So I like that. And then from the other tight end, who's it going to be?
Hunter Henry.
Who'd you have? Who did you have?
I had Hunter Henry all day long. Man. I mean, he
work with me, buddy. Work with me here. Come on, am I moving too fast for you?
I thought you were talking about your hits. I thought you were. Oh, hey, what's up, buddy?
Oh,
he wants to join the show.
Hey, bring her on in, man. Go ahead, get her. I can vamp here and talk a little bit about Hunter Henry and say, listen, 9 catches in this one, 109 yards. Again, we've talked about this as well with Hunter Henry and Alex Van Pelt, the way he's doing it. Whoa, topless Laney, no less here, huh? Topless Laney, come on, this is a family show.
You're gonna start. All right, and we're cranky.
She's like, I don't want to talk about the Patriots.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll let you go and deal with that. But here we go. So the hits were the tight ends, Mike Gesicki and Baker Mayfield. We'll let Coop kind of sort things out here. And I will again thank you guys all for the comments here, just tearing it up in the chat right now. We appreciate everybody joining us here. Yikes is right. That reminds me, I got to go get a 9th vasectomy. Every time I hear a baby cry,
you can never be too careful.
Slam my genitalia into the door.
You can never be too careful. We've been too, man. Well, here we are. We're back. Let's get into some waiver talk. Let's get no more baby talk, no more vasectomy talk. Let's talk some waiver. Let's answer some questions. Let's settle down.
All right. Well, here we go. Let's jump in. Let's hit some questions here and see what's going on. Mile High Luke wants to know what's cracking. Everything.
It's popping.
Everything. George wants to know here. Would you drop Terry McLaurin or Rome Odunze for Quentin Johnston, half-point PPR?
No, I can't do it just yet. And the thing is, with Quentin Johnston, I wrote in my article today that I'm willing to recognize that a lot of people get this take lock about players from last year. Like Quentin Johnston was incredibly inefficient. Alec Pierce he ran the most routes of any wide receiver last year and finished as the wide receiver 71. So we have a pretty big sample size of these guys being inefficient, but we've also seen guys like Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams playing with Aaron Rodgers struggled for 2 years before he really took off. People were saying that the Packers should cut him, not just drop him in fantasy football. People were saying the Packers should cut Devontae Adams. Nico Collins, another guy, 2 years in a row, injury prone, didn't crack like 500 yards. Now he's awesome. So, with those take lock guys, I'll admit that they have some upside, but I just can't drop Terry McLaurin or Rome Odunze. If you can drop somebody else, maybe a guy that's playing a part-time snap share, I might do that, but I can't do it right now. Not with those two players.
No, me neither. Me neither. Jerry Nelson wants to know, have you guys seen this many injuries this early? I'll say this. I haven't seen this many injuries to marquee names this early, right? Because like the list of marquee names who are banged up is significantly higher than what I've seen. But yeah, I've seen this many injuries this early.
And historically, Howard, what's happening is they've cut down on practices so much that we used to see guys like you come into camp with a tweaked knee, and then that injury, you injure it during practice and during preseason. And now that there's no practice, the injuries are happening all at once. Like we used to have more off-season injuries. I remember in August, I feel like every year in August we'd lose major names. Didn't really happen this year because they're not even playing football. And I think the players themselves have been complaining about that. So I don't know. I think maybe they should find a common ground for having these guys play football before they start playing football.
I love it. All right. Josh Coles wants to know, what are you guys doing with guys like Mike Williams, Joshua Palmer, and Cortland Sutton? Drop or hold? So here you go. Let's take it one by one here. Mike Williams, who I've dropped in like 5 leagues already.
Well, I'm thinking with Mike Williams, you got to ask yourself, why did you draft him in the first place? Like if you didn't plan to have him on the bench for a couple weeks, then I don't know. It's just a tough situation. So one of the leagues where I picked him is a deep league. I'm holding on to him, but in shallow leagues, you might have to. Same thing. I mean, Josh Palmer's banged up. I try my best to hold on to guys from unsettled pecking order teams. So like where I drafted Jalen Polk, I'm holding on. Where I drafted Lab McConkey and Josh Palmer, I'm holding on until things sort out. If you got these guys on other teams where clearly they're not even playing or they're third fiddles, then drop them. But guys like Mike Williams, Palmer, and Sutton, I'm only dropping if there's a guy that I need to get. Okay, so Hamburger, circle back with that one and give us a name that's out there on the wire, because I'm not going to drop Cortland Sutton for Quentin Johnson, and I'm not going to drop him for somebody like Demarcus Robinson unless Demarcus Robinson goes right into my lineup this week. So it really depends on what your roster looks like.
All right. We got Jason Swinford wants to know, would you continue to have some hope in Goff or consider dropping him for I love seeing Derek Carr's name here. I absolutely love seeing Derek Carr's name here because I said something about Derek Carr earlier in the preseason, and I mean, people are just like, throwing feet. It was like monkeys at the zoo, just throwing poop left and right here. But I love seeing Derek Carr's name here. Baker Mayfield, another one also. Goff, Carr, Mayfield, I kind of put them all in like that same tier of player right now. So is it a matter of preference and matchups for you, Coop, or do you like one more than the other?
Well, right now I like Mayfield more than the other because, as you pointed out last week, Howard, like their run game, like the power run game is not great, and they're willing to throw in the red zone. So for me, I look at it and I'm like, if one team has David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, and they're just, you watch the end of that Rams game, they didn't even think about throwing. They just ran the ball, bang, 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 until the game was over. Whereas the Bucs don't have that opportunity. I do like Mayfield. Carr is probably where I draw the line. I still like Carr. He's our top waiver ad for this week. My concern with him has been the same, is that Taysom Hill still has taken a couple quarterback snaps. I love this new offense. I just worry that at a certain point, they're going to go back to this Taysom Hill stealing touchdown situation, and it's such a drain on fantasy. It's such a drain, and it's one of the. I hope not. I hope not, Howard. It's
Pete
just
Carmichael is gone. No more Pete Carmichael. No more nonsense.
Yeah, I know he's got a chest injury, so for the short term, love Carr, love him.
Let's do one more question, then we'll get to some specific waivers here that from your article. George says he's got Joe Mixon and Damian Pierce. Would you drop Pierce for Akers? Is Akers the guy as the proper handcuff right now? We saw him fumble and then get yanked from the game, but Damian Pierce banged up here as well. Joe Mixon dealing with the ankle issue right now after that hip drop tackle.
Yeah, and again, you gotta understand your lineup. Like if you're gonna like in one of my leagues, deep leagues, I had to start Emmanuel Wilson this week. That's how bad it was, and he scored like zero point 0.4 points. So for me, I look at it, and if you have to start Akers this week, then you have to pick him up. Otherwise, I'm holding on. I'm going for Damian Pierce because Damian Pierce was the guy. Akers only played because Pierce was out. They said as much.
All right. You know what? I said one. I said this would be the one, and then another one. So this is going to be the last one, and then we'll get to your article. Not the last one that we're going to answer from the chat,
Of
but
course not.
I think this one's an important one here because Christian Kirk, one catch for -3 yards in week 2.
Stupid.
Like when I thought that he was going to actually pop with Evan Ingram out, it didn't happen here. So
Wow.
what's the deal? Where are you at with Christian Kirk? Again, they want to drop him for Jawan Jennings because Debo Samuel's going to be out for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Quentin Johnson because he had a 2-touchdown game.
Yeah. So I mean, if Christian Kirk is like a guy you're not even starting, then I'd go for Quentin Johnston because he has the upside of being the top target on the team. He did look good with those big catches. So I think I would consider it there. With Juwan Jennings, though, he really, if you go back and look at it, because of how much they use the fullback, when guys are healthy, he doesn't play close to nearly a full snap share. In the 2 games without Debo last year, he played 74 and 85% though. So like there are leagues where I need someone now. I'm going for him. If you would start Jawan Jennings this week, do it. Otherwise, I think I'd go for Quentin Johnston. But I don't know. The Christian Kirk stuff is crazy because he was splitting snaps with Ingram. We thought he'd go off, and he really didn't. So I don't know, man. Definitely concerned.
I'm exercising a little bit of patience. Like that was just,
Yeah.
it was my read throughout the preseason. I like the fact that they got Brian Thomas Jr. and Gabe Davis to stretch the field. It should free up Kirk. It really should. I'm going to hold out hope here for Christian Kirk. Maybe that's me being a little, I don't know,
Not he. Well,
stubborn.
it would be different though if he was only playing like a part-time snap share. He played 37, ran 37 to 41 routes. So I don't think it's stubborn to be like, hey, this guy's out there. It's such a small sample size game. He could come back and have monster games. So I think if you're looking for the most reliable play, it's Kirk still.
All right. Let's go to the waiver wire articles that you got over there. And I've got the video there as well at fantasyalarm.com. Let's start with the quarterback position. So we've got must adds, we've got stashes, and then we've got some streamers in there. Now, I'm like in my video, and you've got as your top ads are Derek Carr and Sam Darnold. The Superflex community, Coop, they want to know. What about Andy Dalton?
What about Andy Dalton?
The Red Rocket.
I'm looking around. I can't believe the ads right now. People are asking about Andy Dalton and Samaje Perine. We knew the Samaje Perine day would come, didn't we,
Sure.
Howard? We knew it would come. The Kareem Hunt questions. It's like, for me, I go back to something that you always say, which is you don't have to start a quarterback in Superflex. If you're in a pure QB, 2 QB league with 2 QB spots, yes, you're gonna have to add Andy Dalton if you lost your quarterbacks, right? You have to do that. For me, I can't get behind it because this isn't it's there are times where the quarterback gets hurt and the backup comes in and plays well. That's typically on good teams. When was the last time that we saw a bad team bench a bad quarterback and then the quarterback came in and everything was great? It almost never happens. So for me, there are just too many guys out there. In Superflex, I guess if you're super desperate, do whatever you got to do. But for me, I'm looking at Derek Carr, absolutely, because again, this Clint Kubiak offense, man, it is exactly as advertised, right? They're using the cheat motion, they're getting these guys moving around, they're using the fullback and they drafted a left tackle in the first round of the draft to make sure teams can't cheat. Cowboys thought they could hang back. 3 touchdowns for Alvin Kamara. And here's the crazy part about it, Howard. Right now, through 2 games, Derek Carr is the QB2 in fantasy football, and the Saints are dead last in pass attempts. Dead last. They've only thrown 40 times. it's like, because Shaheed's ending these drives with a 60-yard touchdown. It's like, what are you going to do? But I mean, I look at it and there's even more upside than what they have. We have to keep in mind last year, people will say, oh, well, they're not throwing a lot. Last year, Brock Purdy was QB what, 6? And per Pro Football Focus, the 49ers were dead last in pass attempts. This offense is just efficient. We have to, at a certain point, you just got to admit that. So
Like a
Derek
perfect
Carr,
example for something like that was last year was Joe Mixon. The Bengals absolutely dead last in rushing attempts,
right?
right? Overall, but Joe Mixon was like top 5 in the league in rushing attempts because he was the bell cow. So yeah, efficient offenses as they're scoring points don't need to throw an absolute ton, right? So, I mean, that's the thing is that, everybody is chasing the 300-yard game. And now all of a sudden, you're not seeing that on the regular. I'm seeing a lot of over-unders for passing yards props, and they're all coming in at like 265 and under right now. Like nobody's, expecting the big 300-yard game. We want to see it, but it's, these efficient offenses are turning things around.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and again, the other I mean, the other beautiful thing is Alvin Kamara has never had a 1,000-yard rushing season because he's such a good pass catcher. You get all those points too, right? Like this week, it could have easily been, instead of a 45-yard rushing touchdown, a 45-yard little dump off. So that's going to happen a bunch too. You get all those points. So we like Derek Carr. I also like Sam Darnold. I mean,
Yeah.
statistically speaking, he's up there. When you look at the grades, passer rating, whatever grade you want, passer rating, QBR, Pro Football Focus, he's graded out well. He just played the Giants week 1, so didn't really need to throw much. But they're saying Justin Jefferson has a contusion. Those can be bad, but it's basically just a bruise. I know that NFL bruises can be an NFL bruise would probably ruin my life, but like these guys, these guys are probably he's probably gonna come back and be okay as early as this week, right? And then you're gonna get Jordan Addison back, and you're going to get TJ Hawkinson back, and you have Aaron Jones. And now all of a sudden, Sam Darnold doesn't even need to be incredible. He just needs to be the guy in Kevin O'Connell's offense. So we like that. If you're looking for streamers, Gardner Minshew this week has a good matchup with Carolina, the worst team in the league. And Minshew's second in the league right now in passing yards, and he's also second in the league in completion percentage. So shout out Minshew. I mean, throwing to Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers actually as easy as advertised. Justin Fields, I got to ask you on that one, Howard. You have to include a guy like that in the streamer list because of the mobility, but he's not really moving the ball a whole lot.
He's not really moving the ball a whole lot. This offense is very, very stuck in the mud right now. But I mean, listen, it's they're getting ugly wins. And this is like, I mean, this is like in the trenches, smash mouth, gross football. This is like leather helmet football that they're playing in Pittsburgh, as opposed to what we see in the modern day NFL. And that's kind of a it's a deterrent for a lot of people in fantasy. You want Justin Fields and the rushing upside, but the rest of this offense just really isn't delivering all that much. He actually would have had a better week this past week had they not called back that George Pickens touchdown. A couple of penalties on the offensive line. That's kind of hurting the Steelers a little bit. I don't mind utilizing him as a streamer this week. I mean, if you genuinely think, where's Pittsburgh? Yeah, they're at Denver. Denver, a little soft on the run defense. And while they've got a great secondary, what are we worried about? Oh no, it's not Denver. Who do they got?
They just played Denver.
Just played Denver.
This week they have a good matchup again, though.
Yeah. I'm finding it.
It's the Chargers. It's the Chargers. Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And
all
the
right.
last name I want to throw out there, then we'll get back to some questions. We'll try and hit QB questions, RB questions. We'll bounce back and forth. I got to throw the name out, Drake May, as a deep stash. So if you have like deep leagues and you could throw a guy deep on the bench, here's the thing, Howard. I see you're shaking your head. Mobility changes everything. Okay. Jaden Daniels right now is the QB4 in fantasy football. He has thrown 0 touchdown passes. If you're willing to run at a certain level that creates a good floor and a crazy ceiling, Drake May ran the same 40 time as Jalen Hurts. He's faster than Josh Allen. If he's willing to run when he does, if and when he does ever play, that creates a decent floor. So if you're looking for upside, let's say your quarterback is Baker Mayfield or Jared Goff, and you have a bench spot to throw a Drake May, just for those deeper leagues, mobile QBs are everything. It truly is the case. So
I'm just gonna give you that, that gif of the kid who's just
with all the streamers coming down, the kid that won the spelling bee. No, no,
just staring you down.
that's not homerism. That is mobile QB, the recognition of mobile possibilities. The
All
world
right,
is
we'll
ours.
talk running backs in a few. Let's get back to some questions here right now. We got some running back questions in here also, but Jerry Nelson wants to know, well, I don't know what to do with Kyle Pitts. You play him like you do any other tight end.
Right.
Just keep playing him.
Just get him in there. I mean, there's gonna again, small sample size, but the usage is good, and him and Cousins just got to get on the same page.
Yeah. Just they gotta find themselves in a group. And they were stifled against the Eagles, for the most part. You finally saw them moving the ball in the second half, which was actually nice and encouraging. It didn't go Kyle Pitts' way, but listen, like here's the funny thing, and I'm just gonna say this, and then we'll get to another question here, because actually, you know what? This question here I have a lot of Jaden Reed shares from JD Downing. What's up, JD? Good to see you, man. Which of the waiver wire wide receivers would you drop him for, if any? And the answer is none. The answer is none. Jaden Reed is not a droppable player. Malik Willis, not gonna be the be all end all here, but you're not gonna drop Jaden Reed to pick up some flavor of the week. And this is what it is. Like, and Kyle Pitts, Jaden Reed this past week, DK Metcalf in week 1, Jamar Chase right now. It's early on in the season here. And I'll tell you what, if you have a guy who you believed in, who you spent a lot of draft capital on, who actually is a high quality player, like a Kyle Pitts, like a Jaden Reed, you have to endure. Nobody balls out every single week. Everybody has a bad game or two. Everybody does. So if you can't sit there, if you lose your game because Jamar Chase didn't ball out for you, it's not just the problem with Jamar Chase, it's the problem with the rest of your team. Like, that's the thing. You can't expect a guy to deliver 100 yards and a touchdown every single week. You can't expect that. You can't expect 50 yards and a touchdown every single week from a guy. There's ebb and there's flow, and what you have to do is, like, the rest of your team needs to support when a superstar doesn't deliver well. Like, that's the way it is. Show me one team, with the exception of like a 6-team fantasy league, show me one team where every single guy balls out every single week. It doesn't happen.
Yeah. Amon-Ra St. Brown week 1 had 13 yards. And then last week he got 19 targets. You got to give these guys a chance. It's a very small sample size sport. So we're hanging on. We're hanging on.
No, you're not dropping Jaden Reed, JD. You're not doing it. I won't let you.
No,
I will never answer another Facebook question from you again if you drop Jaden Reed. I'll put that out there.
He's a softie. He'll answer all your
questions. No, I'm not. I'm a terrible, mean person. Jonathan Reardon wants to know, drop Blake Corum for Bucky Irving or Braylon Allen. He's got Kyron Williams. Well, if you've got Kyron, then you don't drop Blake Corum. Handcuff.
Yeah, leave it. Leave it for now. Leave it for now. You have to, especially considering we know what Sean McVay likes to do. He'll use Kyron Williams for every snap, and if Kyron Williams goes down, he'll use Blake Corum for every snap. He's not afraid of doing that.
Richie Pacheco wants to know, DeAndre Hopkins is defending droppable, right? I don't even know what that sentence means or question is.
I think he meant definitely droppable. And again, he's definitely not startable until we see him play a full game. And he's dealing with like a torn and partially torn MCL, so we might not see it for a long time. So again, if you need someone that you're going to actually use within the next couple of weeks, then drop him. If you're dropping him for another stash, I'm just not sure there's another player who might be on your wire that's as good as DeAndre Hopkins is. So you might just want to wait for him to be healthy, but you definitely can't start him until I have the yellow tape around this player. I'm not starting him until I see him play minimum 80% of the snaps in the game. This week, he once again didn't even play half the game. He played a little more than he did week 1, but still can't start that guy.
Here we go. Nick Alfidi wants to know, looking to trade Diggs for an RB2. I already have Collins, Jefferson, in London. Who do I target in a super flex league? What's the level of running back that you would target for to trade Diggs? Jordan Mason?
I would try and get somebody that doesn't potentially have expiring value. I mean, I'd go for somebody that's in kind of that RB2 range. I'd go for like see if you can get David Montgomery, right? See if you can get maybe a Tony Pollard. I mean, Josh Jacobs right now, Howard. Josh Jacobs has the third most rushing yards in the league right now, and he's the RB23 in PPR. So the Josh Jacobs owner might not realize that like that's gonna like he's not gonna finish as the RB23. He's gonna finish better. So I would try and target guys that you believe in that are just underperforming. As simple as that. Always the way to play. Try to get Kenneth Walker while he's banged up.
All right. Brad Thomas wants to know, have Olave and Diggs drop Terry for Quentin Johnston? No.
No, no.
Nope. 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 A lot of comments about Laney. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Thank
What
you.
a cute baby, says Debbie.
She's even cuter when she's not crying, believe it or not.
That's
Maybe
all right. Debbie says she was crying that way in week 1. So.
That's a good one.
And then Debbie hit me with a start sit yesterday on Monday. Like even before Monday Night Football was over, she was already looking at week 3. So what's up, Debbie? Thanks for joining us here. All right, let's get back to the waiver wire, the articles here. Let's talk about the running backs that we're looking at adding. Now, I did a video over there at on TikTok, and it was just kind of all over the place here. I talked about Samaje Perine, Carson Steele. I talked about Bucky Irving. I talked about even Khalil Herbert for deeper leagues. Where are you at with the running back position right now? I guess Kansas City, probably the best place to start with Perine, Carson Steele, Kareem Hunt coming in for a visit.
Yep. And I don't put any of those guys. I don't have any of those guys in my main waiver article as good for now and later. In the streamers article, Samaje Perine's the guy we're leaning on because we want to lean on those receptions. The thing with Carson Steele is he is slow, right? He is more of a fullback. If you want to find comparable players, the only other player I could find that ran a 4.8 or slower that had an RB2 season at any point was Mike Tolbert back on the Chargers. Howard. So we're talking slow. We're talking, I mean, I guess Mike Allstott was, I mean, maybe if he's, maybe, well, now people are like, oh, Mike Allstott, that sounds good. But like,
well, I mean, yes, you had me at Mike Tolbert too.
Mike Tolbert, yeah. Chargers Mike Tolbert, not Panthers. Panthers Mike Tolbert was a true fullback. Chargers Mike Tolbert was a little more running back. But if you're going streamers, go there. If you're going stashes, CEH is probably going to take over, when he gets back. I'm still looking for info on this broken fibula, whether it's just a regular broken leg or whether it's the high ankle sprain version. Where
6 to 8 weeks they put it at.
Okay, so he's
6
not going
to 8 weeks.
He's not doing like the tightrope surgery. It's just rest.
No,
right? Okay, so that's good. That's good news. So yeah, for me, these players aren't like long-term fixes. Neither is Kareem Hunt. So if you need someone to stream that's going to actually start for you either this week or next week, or coming up, check your bye weeks. Then go for a Perine or I guess Steele, but Perine I prefer in any sort of PPR. If you're looking for just long-term best possible plays, I don't quite love those guys though. In fact, personally, if Rico Dowdle's out there, he just started this week and he's continuing to split with Zeke. I think I would just flat out prefer Rico Dowdle, and I'd rather start Rico Dowdle and just hope that as the season progresses, he gets more and more of that work. So for me, I don't know. Sometimes I don't get caught up in the hype. We didn't get caught up in the likely hype either. It's just sometimes you look at it and you're like, that was fun for 1 week, but like, is this guy going to help me win my championship? Is Samaje Perine going to help you win a fantasy championship? Maybe, but probably not.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's the same thing when I look at a guy like Braylon Allen, and everybody's talking about him because he found the end zone this past week, right? I mean, he's not the RB1. This was a good game for him against Tennessee, sure, but it wasn't like this. It's not something that I see being sustained, because I think as Rodgers gets more comfortable in this offense, then he's going to start slinging the rock a little bit more, finds Mike Williams and Alan Lazard alongside Garrett Wilson. So, you know what Aaron Rodgers wants to do. And here at the beginning of the season, they might rely a little bit more on the run just to get Rodgers more comfortable and on that foot and, recovering from the Achilles. But Like, I'm not looking at guys like Braylon Allen. Like, you've got him here as a stash in the article, and that's fine for me. He's a handcuff to Breece Hall. That's what I'm looking at there.
Exactly. So with the stashes, that's where we don't think they have any value short term, but we look at it and say, okay, is this a good offense? Are they backing up a good player? Are they a good player? So we didn't have Braylon Allen in here because we were worried about his pass catching ability. He did none of it at Wisconsin, right? And he's kind of just a bruiser. We thought this week he at least showed that he can catch the screens and the manufactured passes. He caught 4 from Aaron Rodgers and Hackett. So if something happens, that's a guy. But this guy is a handcuff. He's not a handcuff plus. Trey Benson still just a handcuff to the most injury prone back that has. If James Conner plays every game this year, it will be the first time in his career he's done so.
Hey, take it easy on Conner, man.
I love James Conner, but that's what I mean. These are facts. I'm not trying to be mean to him. Ray Davis, another guy. They want to go high. They clearly want to go high run. They're sixth most, the highest percentage of run attempts for the Bills of any team, right? So if something happens to James Conner, then we like these guys. Until then, though, we can't start these guys. So the stashes that you can't play are CEH, Ray Davis, Braylon Allen, Trey Benson. The guys you can play if you have to start someone, Rico Dowdle, Antonio Gibson showed a little bit, and JaMychal Hasty's banged up. Samaje Perine, Justice Hill. If you think that the Cowboys can show up this week, right? We didn't think it was going to be a negative game script last week for the Ravens, but then they lost, and it was. And Justice Hill played more snaps than Derrick Henry. So these are the things we're thinking about. I like your Khalil Herbert take, Howard. Give us a short and sweet on Khalil Herbert.
Well, I mean, listen, Khalil Herbert, DeAndre Swift is not a between the tackles type guy. We know that. He's a pass catching running back, and we've seen how inefficient he is. So I look at Khalil Herbert as a guy who's going to steal some short yardage work, could steal some touchdowns. If DeAndre Swift falls out of favor, which he has at every stop he's made. Detroit said goodbye. Philadelphia said goodbye. Now you're sitting here with the Bears. And I just don't necessarily know how much, that's really going to work. So Khalil Herbert's somebody who I think, yeah, you can stream in. And you know what? Listen, while I'm in on Jerome Ford this week severely because he's facing the Giants early on, I think Deonta Foreman could be a garbage time guy that you stream in the late half of it. I mean, Browns were up by 2 scores against the Jaguars for most of the second half last week. And that's why Deonta Foreman ended up out touching Jerome Ford. They're like, here, run the football. Go ahead. We're winning. Just kill the clock. And I think you could get that also if the Browns defense stifles anything from the Giants. So I think that's a possible streamer as well. The guy who I'm kind of also watching this week, nobody's talking about it really, but Rachaad White tweaked his groin during that game this past week against the Lions. So if Rachaad White's limited, that's going to increase the first team reps for Bucky Irving throughout this entire week. Todd Bowles has said he'll play the hot hand. He obviously doesn't have any kind of like major affectation for Rachaad White. Yeah, he can catch passes, but so can Bucky Irving. That's a situation I'm really kind of eyeballing right now because I feel like the workload could kind of, get to a 50-50 point right now, especially with the way that Bucky Irving is running so efficiently.
Right. And I'll tell you, how did Emmanuel Wilson end up in my lineup? Well, I was sitting there and I was looking at Kenneth Walker and thinking maybe he'll play. So I didn't start any of the other backup options I had, like Jalen Wright or guys like that, which, worked out fine. But then at the end of the week, they said, oh, he's not going to play. And that could happen with Rachaad White. You never know how these weeks of practice are going to go. Evan Ingram pulled his hamstring about 15 minutes felt like before kickoff. So it can happen. Make sure you have guys. If your guys are banged up, make sure you have players ready to play. And to be honest, Bucky Irving is my number 2 waiver ad behind only Rico Dowdle at running back. That's how I look at it. I think he's a good player.
All right. Again, go check out the article over at fantasyalarm.com for all your running back needs. Let's get to some questions before we start diving into the wide receiver position because it's all kind of a mix here. We got Debbie who actually wants to know, should I hang on to Josh Palmer with Quentin Johnson, Darnell Mooney, and Josh Downs available? So here's a little bit of a different situation because obviously there is better work here on the waiver wire besides Quentin Johnson. Mooney got into the end zone last week last night's game. And then Josh Downs, working his way back could end up being a nice security blanket for Anthony Richardson.
Yep, this one's simple for me. If we're talking about your wide receiver four, like 3, 4, or 5, you have to go with Quentin Johnston or Mooney because you're going to use them over the next couple of weeks. If you're talking about your wide receiver 5, 6, 7, it's Josh Downs because I like the player and we're stashing him, and that's why we break everything down. Josh Downs is in our stash article as a guy that where you can't use him right now, but we're holding on.
Here we go. Zipping over to some QB talk. Would you drop Trevor Lawrence or Aaron Rodgers for Derek Carr?
I would drop Aaron Rodgers for Carr.
There you go. Next question here. Should I hold Jalen Wright or drop him for someone like Carson Steele?
Only if you're going to play Steele this week.
Yeah, only if.
Only if.
Would you drop Ladd McConkey for Quentin Johnston?
Not in any sort of PPR. I like Ladd. I think he's probably the more reliable PPR option.
Oh, I like this. T. Higgins available in my league. Do I pick him up even though I have Jamar Chase? The answer is yes.
I've actually, believe it or not, Howard, I've never had a problem where I had too many good players from good teams. Sometimes I sit here and I'm like, oh no, I have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. What do I do? It's like, don't worry about it, Miss Major. That's a good thing. You want to have as many of the good guys from the good teams. It's when you have too many bad guys from the Panthers and the Patriots, then you're in trouble.
Yeah. All right. Rodney Piper says Steele versus P. Ryan. I know you hate Steele's speed, but you also hated the Vikings. So,
that's Rodney, dude. Yeah, we
Rodney,
had a good
get a little spicy there, huh?
Rodney and I had a good talk at the expo, and yeah, I'm in, dude. Sam, I was worried about Sam Darnold. I think he's pretty good, and Steele, I mean, hey, it's a fun story. He's got a mullet. He's got an alligator. If you're into that kind of stuff, dude, go ahead. Go ahead. I mean, again, think about your league. Like, there are definitely standard leagues out there that are deep where a touchdown is everything, but I don't think Steele's going to give you much more than that. P. Ryan, he could go out and catch 4, 5, 6 passes like Jerick McKinnon used to. That's why I like P. Ryan and Ace on PPR.
All right, Gardner Minshew with the mustache and jean shorts, or Carson Steele with the mullet and the alligator?
I mean, I got it until Carson Steele gets a catalog of American flag pictures out there, or him like sitting on a truck. I gotta stick with our guy Minshew.
All right, FFPC Mile High Luke says Henry was dropped last week. Who drops Hunter Henry in a tight end premium? How much do I bid for Henry with Kincaid and Dulcich as my other tight ends? Team is solid, so just need to secure a few depth pieces. I mean, I'm probably looking at coming off of a 9-catch, 109-yard game, right, the price is going to go up. I would probably look somewhere in like the 10 to 12% range.
It's got to be, yeah. And if you're, we'll talk about this, Luke, but if you would actually start him over Kincaid this week, it's a tough call, but if you would, then now my rule of thumb is if a player goes directly in my lineup, as long as it's not like a kicker or something, if he goes directly in my lineup, I'm usually dropping 20%. Because like I play to win games. Like too many times I've been playing this for so long with so many teams, and there's been so many times I got too cute early on and didn't make the playoffs. And then I sat there and I was like, oh, if I just made the playoffs, I would have won. Don't be like, win your matchups. If you are going for somebody off the wire that's going to go in your lineup, make sure you get them.
There we go. All right, one more question here. Let's go to, we got Charlene in there. What's up, Charlene? What are we doing with Christian Kirk at this point?
Freak out.
Poor Christian Kirk. This is the guy. I'm still holding on to him. I'm still holding him.
He's a good player. No question. He'll be fine, especially with Ingram out. I mean, the opportunity's there.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, wide receiver talk. Going back to your article there, top ads, top streamers for this week, top stashes. Where do you want to begin, Coop?
Okay, so my top ads overlap with my top streamers. So I'm going to go through and say if my top ad is also the top streamer, we're going to put them in both articles. So Demarcus Robinson, I mean, it's just too obvious with those guys out, Puka and Cooper Kupp. This is a rock solid player. Him or Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks still getting the usage. I know Jalen Tolbert got extra targets, but I still like the possibility with Jake Ferguson out that he can come out and have some big games. He did week 1. He has one down week this week. Now we're going to give up. That's not how I look at it. So Brandon Cooks and Demarcus Robinson, if they're out there, go that way. Okay. If you're looking for kind of the better upside play, you hold your nose, you add Quentin Johnston and hopefully, and you think, hey, you know what? Maybe he takes a leap second year, new offense, new coordinator. Maybe he's a guy now. He's probably the third best ad. If you need straight streamers, got to go to Juwan Jennings here. Again, when Debo Samuel was out last year for 2 games, he played 74 and 85% of the snaps, got a bunch more targets. Ricky Pearsall's just got back in the weight room from the gunshot injury. So he's still week to week. He's not even day to day. So you got to go there. Again, if T. Higgins misses, Andre Yoshivas is a guy. Until DeAndre Hopkins actually plays a full game, Tyler Boyd could be a guy. Those are kind of the streamers. And then on the stash front, Howard mentioned it. Jaden Reed, Romeo Dubs. These are Romeo Dubs. I watched his ownership go down week 1, down again. He's now becoming available. People are dropping him. When Jordan Love gets back, these guys are going to go back to being the guys that we expected them to be. Jordan Love is expected to come back at some point. So Romeo Dubs is very difficult to start now, but he both games was the primary outside wide receiver, led the team in routes, led the team in snaps. Okay. Jalen Polk, we're still holding. He scored a touchdown this week, so maybe some people chase him on that, but we're still holding out hope that that gets sorted out. Josh Downs, of course, with the injury. And the last one here is a more of the double handcuff plus in Jalen McMillan. We're loving this Buccaneers offense. You could stream them if you have to, but if either one of those guys goes down, Mike Evans is older guy, Chris Godwin's had injury history, Jalen McMillan becomes very appealing. So I kind of like stashing him instead of having to drop $75 on the waiver wire if Chris Godwin gets hurt this week.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. You know what? Let's just hit the tight ends right now because we got a bunch of questions, and we'll just kind of clear the deck for the last like 10 minutes of the show,
Cool.
And hit those questions. So let's start off here. Top tight end ads, top streamers. Where are you at? Maybe this will answer some people's questions even.
I see. This is the top 10, the top tight end ad, man. This is what separates the loyal yin and yang followers from the rest. Is that the people asking, do I add Hunter Henry? The yin yang gang, yin yang gang is saying we already got him, dog. Like we were on Hunter Henry. He was the only guy ahead of him on the list was last week, I think Brock Bowers for Yang, and now Bowers is standalone. So go get Hunter Henry this week. We talked about this all offseason, how the Patriots didn't call one tight end screen last year, Howard, not one. What happens this week? They throw Hunter Henry a tight end screen. He takes it for 35 yards, right? Just why not? Every once in a while, set him up, man. See what he can do. So that is back on the table. He was obviously peppered. No, he's not going to get 12 targets every week, but one of the things this guy does well is he wins in man-to-man. He's good in the red zone. He scored 6 touchdowns last year on a team that only threw 16. 6 touchdowns is second only to Sam Laporta last year. He's going to score touchdowns too. So, yes, he's going to have weeks with only 3 or 4 targets, but in those weeks he can score a touchdown. And as we've seen, there's going to be weeks where he's scoring big points. He led the team in snaps and targets. That goes not just for tight ends, that goes for all pass catchers. All right. If the other ad is on the inside, so say you're panicking, you need to start somebody. I mean, Zach Ertz has been our Band-Aid for 3 straight years now. Like until he gets hurt or until he gets tired or banged up, he just goes out there, he plays the slot, and he catches 4 passes every week. Like that's what he does, man. So if you got to throw somebody in there, it's Ertz. Another one, Colby Parkinson. As Howard pointed out, as long as T. Higgins is out, Mike Gesicki is a streamer.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get into that the guys that are playing the whole game, but there are really good wide receivers in the team. Those guys can be used in a streaming situation. So a guy like Noah Fant, he's been dealing with a toe injury, but he's back to being a full-time guy. Dalton Schultz, if you have to. On the stash front, we're still holding on to Hayden Hurst. We're still holding on to Greg Dulcich. And we're also keeping an eye out for who could be this year's Trey McBride, right? We're looking at good roles and asking ourselves, what happens if this guy goes down? I mean, Ben Sennett has been the number one handcuff if you're thinking that way. What if Ertz goes down? This guy, we think he's a talented player. He was drafted in the second round. The other one, Elijah Higgins. We've got to convert. He caught a touchdown this week. We're not chasing the touchdown, but just keep in mind, this is a converted wide receiver. Trey McBride plays a lot of wide receiver. If Trey McBride goes down, they're not going to throw Tip Ryman out there, with his mauler, right? I think he said the Lord sent me here to maul people or something like that, which I think is an incredible quote for a blocking tight end. But it's going to be Elijah Higgins, man, stepping up in that role. It's going to be Greg Dortch too. So That's
Oh,
it,
I
man.
love Greg Dortch this
I
week.
know, man. Yeah, if it just got to think to yourself with these, like when you get these really highly consolidated offenses, what happens if we lose one? Right, like Johnu Smith, for instance. Johnu Smith played a little more this week. Howard, I put him
Mhm.
back in there because the first week he only ran 18 routes when the team dropped back 48 times. Can't trust that. This week he ran 31 out of 45, and Durham Smythe and Julian Hill went back on the back burner. So what happens if one of those guys goes down? Always be thinking with if the team only has two good players and one of those players goes down, that's how you get this week's top ad, Demarcus Robinson.
All right. So again, guys, go check out the articles over at fantasyalarm.com. Coop's got 3 articles, all waiver wire related, must adds, streamers, stashes. I've got my preliminary video that I did on Monday as well. Just some players that I'm kind of eyeballing for waiver wire work as well. And again, if you don't have a subscription to fantasyalarm.com, do yourself a favor. Zap this QR code that's right up here. All right. Or go to fantasyalarm.com/all-pro. When you sign up for the monthly or the annual, you'll get a 7-day free trial. So you can just take it for a spin for the week and see what you think. So again, fantasyalarm.com/all-pro wants to get you into the game. All right. With those articles out there, and everybody can go and check all that out. Coop, let's get back to some questions here. Got about 10 minutes left in the show, so let's help the kids out where we can.
Let's
Number
rock it.
1, Jerry Nelson. Are you guys worried about Rashad White? I'm worried about
No.
your spelling of Rashad. It's a C, not an S, Jerry. So
It's a tough one.
I'm extremely worried about this Rashad White. I'm worried about both of them.
You landed right in between Rashid Shaheed and Rashad White on that one. But yes, we were worried about Rashad White before the season started.
Yes, we were. All right. And Chad wants to know, with Andy Dalton as a starter, is Chuba Hubbard or Chubby Hubbard, maybe that's his nickname, going to be better, or is it Javonte Williams still better?
Should we make it a bit where everyone goes in the chat and they type a guy's name just not quite, but close
Just
enough
not
for us
quite.
close enough for us to figure it out? I think that'd be great.
I'm going to say Javonte Williams here.
I'm going Javonte. Yeah, I like Javonte. Javonte played the vast majority of the game, way more than everybody else in all phases. And again, if Andy Dalton turns that team around, then we can start figuring that out once that happens.
Yes. Here we go. Dan wants to know, half-point PPR, redraft league. I got Colby Parkinson and Evan Engram. Should I just weather the early season storm or try to work a trade for Bowers, Kittle, or Andrews? They're all on one other team. So somebody's got a wealth of riches there. Yeah, I would definitely see what you can get for one of those guys. I wouldn't overpay, but
I'd say whatever. I would take the cheapest one. Say
yeah.
who's the cheapest guy, and then when he says, "I'll give you," say Andrews is the cheapest guy. When he says, "Oh, I'll give you Andrews for this guy," then say, "No, I want Bowers."
There it is.
Put the screws to him. But
put the screws to him.
Yeah, but I mean, all 3 of those guys are great. I mean, Kittle now with Debo out, got to move him up. I moved him up.
Sure. Mile High Luke in the FFPC. What are we bidding on Josh Downs dropping Luke McCaffrey, which I'm okay with? Also, would you prioritize Downs over Jordan Whittington?
Yes, unless you got to play for sustainable success. We expect Puka and Cup to be back, so Josh Downs is the long-term play for me. Go there.
Yeah, agreed. Here we go. Superflex Dynasty, Dalton on waivers. I don't have a starting QB2, waiting for Penix, Winston, or Locke to get the nod. How much do I spend on Fab for Dalton? It's a Superflex, so you're going to have to go. You're looking at like 30% at least.
It's Dynasty too, Howard. So it's like,
maybe it's a little less because it's Dynasty.
But there's no other opportunity to get guys. I think you got to just push the chips, man.
Yeah, there you go. Sergio wants to know, should Jacob Cowing be a pickup with Debo out?
I like Jacob Cowing. Maybe, I mean, now he's the new Juwan Jennings where he'll come in and play that wide receiver 3 and rotate with Kyle Juszczyk. So I don't expect him to play more than 40 or 50% of the snaps, but I like the player. So deep enough league, there's a spot for everybody.
I like it. All right. Sean wants to know, should I keep Colby Parkinson or drop him for Hunter Henry?
Do it.
I'd drop him for Henry.
Yeah, for sure. Because even if their weekly upside is the same, Hunter, you got those wide receivers coming back. unless the Patriots make a trade, the team is what it is. And Hunter Henry has been the lead dog in snaps, in routes, in receptions, in yards, not in touchdowns because they're not really scoring any, but they will.
They
Pat's the
will.
hottest team. Pat's the hottest team of football.
It'll come. Hottest team in football. Captain Joking. He's already a sub. Am I insane to trade Xavier Worthy and Zay Flowers for Brock Bowers? I really hate Pitts and Cousins. I think you're giving up too much in both receivers for Brock Bowers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot, man.
Yeah, that's too much. It's too much.
Is Zay Flowers for Zay Flowers straight up for Brock Bowers?
That's
Honestly,
a fair deal.
Fair deal.
That's
but,
a fair deal.
There's no reason to also throw Worthy in.
No, Worthy's not a throw-in. Here we go. 13th in the waivers. Need one. Steele, Jennings, Foreman, or the Seattle defense. Thanks, bros.
If that's the case, I actually would wait. Unless you're going to start one of those guys this week, excluding the defense, I would just wait and let other people make all those picks and move yourself up in the waiver order for a more impactful move later. You can find a better, you can stream defenses. Seattle versus Skylar Thompson is fine, but is Seattle defense that good in general? I mean, Patriots just took them to the wire. Patriots scored 20 on them. So no, I wouldn't even use your priority at all.
Yeah, I agree. Jonathan Santiago, it's a lineup question. We're just covering waivers today. Tomorrow and Thursday, it's all about your lineups. There's too much, there's still more injury news creeping out from week 2 that you can't make a legitimate start-sit, decision right here on a Tuesday. It just doesn't work.
All right,
it doesn't
work.
Rapid fire.
I'm ready. And I know what it means.
All right, let's see. JD Downing says he's not going to drop Jaden Reed now because he obviously wants to talk to me on Facebook.
Good.
And I appreciate that. Mile High Luke, what are we bidding for Antonio Gibson dropping Jeff Wilson?
5 to 10%. He got some touches, but he didn't split the snaps. He's still a handcuff mostly.
Oh man, I don't know where I put him. I had him, and my wife moved him on me.
Unbelievable.
Oh, my Twitch class is gone.
Twitch gang in the house.
But Demon Yo says, I lost Pacheco and have Waddle. Do you think I should trade Nico for Ramondre Devonta Smith? My wide receiver 1 is Amon-Ra St. Brown. RB2 is Connor.
Yeah, I would do that, actually. I would do that. I love Devonta Smith has been great. And Mondre has been pretty good, too. So I think, you're getting the right price back.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get both those guys in there for Nico Collins, I agree with Coop. Or Nico Njoku, Zamir White, and Darnell Mooney for Kyron Williams, Stephon Diggs, and George Kittle.
I mean, yeah, I would do that one.
I would do this one too.
Njoku, Zamir White, and Mooney. No, yeah, do the second one.
Yeah.
You're basically trading. You're kind of trading. The way my lineups have been shaken out, you're kind of trading Nico for Kyron, Diggs, and Kittle because those other guys aren't really cracking my lineup.
No, right? Zamir White might have a good game this week against Carolina, but
right.
Still. All right, let's see. Where else do we got? I lost CMC and I don't have Mason. Should I blow my budget on Steele? No, Shmooly. You should not.
Shmooly.
Don't
you do it.
Don't do it. All right, let's see. I think Brandon Cooks is washed. Is Tolbert worth a pickup? I would do that. I like Tolbert.
If that's what you think, Jerry, then lean into it.
There you go. How do we feel about Jordan Whittington? He lost Cup. Thinking about picking him up. Would you do it?
If you got a spot, if you got if you have an IR spot that you can put Cup in, then absolutely.
Yeah. All right. KJ Frederick asking a start-sit question. That's tomorrow. Are you worried about Kincaid? No, I think he'll be fine. Would you rather have J.K. Dobbins or Marv or JT and Olave? J.K. Dobbins and Marvin Harrison Jr. or JT and Olave? I think I'd rather have JT and Olave.
I would rather have JT and Olave. You got to remember the Saints have only thrown 40 times. Now I forget what team, but there's a team that's thrown 80 times. There's a team that's literally thrown twice as many times as the Saints. They're going to have better game scripts for throwing.
All right. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm sorry if we didn't get to your questions here. Again, Coop and I will be back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube page. Be giving you answers to start sits. If you got Wednesday waivers, trade questions, tomorrow is the big free-for-all that you guys are dying for. Get yourself some waivers in tonight. Make sure that you make proper sensible claims. Don't just churn over a position. Don't make a waiver claim for the sake of making a waiver claim. Everything needs a purpose. Everything. Coop, any final words?
You said it all, brother.
All right. Well, then that's going to do it for us. We thank everybody for tuning in. Again, hit that like and subscribe button here on the YouTube page. If you've been watching us on Twitter or Twitch, head over to YouTube and hit a like and subscribe for us because we need it. We need it. We're thirsty people here, and we'd like your help. So
you saw Lainey. She was
looking a little skinny, right?
She was hungry.
That kid?
She's hungry for likes and subscribes. She came in here and she was like, I was like, no, we haven't got enough likes yet. Sorry, Lainey.
All right. Well, we'll catch everybody tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, for more Alarm Fantasy Football. For Andrew